Hey everyone, and welcome. What if I told you there's a hidden pattern that connects everything? And I mean everything, from why poverty can be so persistent all the way to the birth of the cosmos itself. It's a huge idea, and it all starts with a very down-to-earth question.
Right. Our story doesn't begin with stars and galaxies, but with this really tough, really human problem. The author of our source material, Dr. Nimrod Israeli, he spent years trying to figure out why so many small farmers, despite all the aid and technology, just couldn't break out of the cycle of poverty.
He looked at all the usual suspects: corruption, bad government, not enough education. And yeah, of course, those things are part of the picture, but they just didn't tell the whole story. He kept seeing the same patterns of failure over and over in totally different places. Something else, something deeper had to be going on. And this is where he had his big breakthrough. Thinking back to his own upbringing in a kibbutz in Israel, he realized that success isn't just about what one person has. It's about this invisible scaffolding. The social fabric, the way people organize and cooperate, a shared goal. That was the missing link. So this insight about these invisible structures in society, well, it turned out to be the key to unlocking a much, much bigger idea, a pattern that he now believes is absolutely universal. He calls it the Universal Law of Increasing Complexity, or UILC for short. And the core idea is actually pretty simple. For any system, and that could be a village, a business, or even a living thing, to grow and get more complex, it needs three very specific things to be in place and working together. And here they are. These three conditions are the absolute key. First, you need energy, a steady flow of it. Second, you need a structure to actually contain and organize that energy. And third, you need a direction, a purpose, a set of rules to guide where all that energy goes. Energy, structure, direction. Remember those three, because that is the golden thread we're going to follow all the way through.
So, how does this whole framework apply to us, to our world? Well, we can see it crystal clear in the one system we all live in, human society, which, when you think about it, is built almost entirely on things we just made up.
Just think about it for a second. What are the most powerful forces that shape our lives? Things like nations, money, laws, big corporations. You can't physically touch any of them. A dollar bill isn't money, it's just paper. It has value because we all agree it does. These are the ultimate invisible scaffolding, and they allow millions, even billions of us to work together. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This kind of complexity was built up over thousands and thousands of years. It really kicked off with language. Suddenly, we could talk about things that weren't right in front of us. That led to shared myths and beliefs, which helped us cooperate. And over time, those shared beliefs got baked into formal institutions, like laws and governments, and boom, you get the massive, complex world we live in today. Let's look at a real-world example to make this stick. Take China. For centuries, Confucian ideals, which are really just a shared set of ideas about how to live, were systematically built into a huge imperial government. That process took abstract values and turned them into powerful, lasting institutions. An idea became the structure that directed the energy of a nation for centuries. See? Direction, structure, energy. Okay, so the pattern works for us humans. But here's where things get really wild. If this law is actually universal, then shouldn't we be able to see the same architecture at work in nature itself? Let's zoom out and see if the pattern holds up. But first, we need to get one quick concept down: emergence. This is basically the idea that a whole system can have properties that its individual parts don't. A single brain cell, a neuron, isn't conscious. It can't think. But you get billions of them together, organized in the amazing structure of a brain, and suddenly, consciousness emerges. It's the magic that happens when our three conditions are met.
And this is where you can really see the parallel. It's kind of mind-blowing. Let's put a human society next to a single living cell. A society runs on the energy of people's work, it's organized by laws and institutions, and it's guided by shared goals. A cell runs on the energy from metabolism, it's organized by its cell wall and all the bits inside, and it's guided by the instructions coded in its DNA. It's the exact same pattern: energy, structure, direction, just on a totally different scale. And this pattern just keeps showing up at every single layer of the natural world. Go down to the level of physics, and you've got subatomic forces providing the energy, the configuration of the atom as the structure, and the laws of quantum mechanics as the direction. Go up a level to chemistry. Chemical reactions are the energy, molecular bonds are the structure, and chemical properties are the direction. All the way up to biology. It's the same triad, over and over again.
Of course, for any law to be truly convincing, it can't just explain why things work, it also has to explain why they fall apart. And Lick does. Just think about the fossil record. It's filled with species that went extinct because their energy source vanished or their structure just wasn't suited to a new environment. If you take away any one of those three conditions, energy, structure, or direction, the whole system collapses. So we've seen this pattern in human history, and we've seen it woven into the fabric of nature. Which leads us to the biggest, most mind-bending question of all. Can we apply this framework all the way back to the very beginning of everything? This leaves us with a pretty fundamental question. What exactly is this pattern? Is it a literal scientific law like gravity that was there from the Big Bang? Is it a practical principle we can use right now to build better companies or communities? Or is it maybe more of a guiding story, a powerful reminder that whenever we build anything, we're tapping into the same basic architecture that builds stars and galaxies? Either way, the message is clear. The way we choose to organize ourselves matters a lot.
I think this quote from the source material just says it all, right? For this idea to really be universal, it has to hold up everywhere, from the tiniest particles to the largest structures, from the beginning of time until today. That's the real test.
And that's the big idea I want to leave you with. When we create something successful, a family, a business, a society, by carefully aligning energy, structure, and direction, are we just being clever? Or are we actually tapping into a fundamental law that governs all of existence? It's a heck of a thought. Thanks for joining me today.